Hello, it's nice to have you join us on Nationwide. I'm Naja'atu Tijani. You can follow this news broadcast live on our website, nta.ng/live, and all our social media platforms displayed on the screen. The Imo Police Command has confirmed the killing of 4 police officers in the attack on Agwa Police Station by suspected members of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra and its affiliate, the Eastern Security Network. A statement by the police public relations officer, Michael Abatam, indicates that members of the terrorist group in their numbers forced their way into the police station using 2 tipper trucks while also shooting sporadically, throwing improvised explosive devices into the premises. Police operatives of the division, joined by the command's tactical team, engaged members of the militia group in a gun duel, resulting in casualties on the side of the attackers. Two suspects, however, escaped from custody, while 1 rifle is yet to be recovered. The statement further notes that the Commissioner of Police, Imo Command, Mohammed Ahmed Wardi, has visited the scene of the incident for an on-the-spot assessment, as well as the AZ of the community, giving assurance that the command will ensure peace is restored to the area, and has also promised that perpetrators of the crime will be brought to book. President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned the recent attacks on non-indigenes and law enforcement officials by terrorists in the southeast, promising all possible action in conducting a speedy investigation to bring the perpetrators to justice. A statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, indicates the President, in condemning the slaying of 6 Nigerian citizens and a number of policemen at their duty posts, urges community and religious leaders to do the same as government works to restore peace across the country. The President Buhari also offers condolences to the families of the murdered law enforcement agents and to the government and people of Niger Republic whose citizens were cruelly beheaded. President Muhammadu Buhari has pledged full support for 3 major international events scheduled to hold in Nigeria in October and November this year, saying they are opportunities to showcase the nation's rich heritage in culture, arts, tourism and entertainment, as well as advancements on media freedom. The 2022 UNESCO Global Media Information Literacy Week, MIL, will be held in Abuja in October, the first global conference on cultural tourism and creative industry in Lagos, while the second Global Association of Literary Festivals conference is slated for November in Abeokuta. Welcoming the decision by UNESCO, the United Nations World Tourism Organization, and the Global Association of Literary Festivals to grant Nigeria the right to host these separate historic events, the President assures all relevant stakeholders and participants of the warmth and hospitality of the people of Nigeria. On Mill Week, the President also notes that it is instructive that Nigeria is attracting positive international attention as a country which promotes media freedom and freedom of expression, recognizing the important roles information literacy and media education play in sustainable development. The National Institute for Hospitality and Tourism has raised concerns about the little attention paid to mitigating climate change in Nigeria's hospitality and tourism sector. In a message during the Institute's 2022 annual Master Lecture Series in Abuja, the Director General represented and other key players in the sector noted that the continuous neglect of climate change in the tourism sector will eventually have negative impact on tourism, which they noted cannot be at its best without in the midst of adverse climate change.
And their contribution to climate change in Nigeria be discussed in a forum like this. All hands must be on deck to ultimately achieve a low carbon future.
There is a growing concern among tourism stakeholders on how to secure the future of tourism, and it has become very clear that it is dependent on the sector's ability to embrace low carbon pathways to cut emissions to the barest minimum.
Weather patterns are changing, sea levels are rising, and weather events are becoming more extreme.
Climate change is mainly due to natural and anthropogenic activities. What are anthropogenic activities? Human activities, where trees are being degraded, cut down, unsustainable harvesting of trees, bush burning, and unethical trade.
Still on climate and environment, the management of State House has pledged to boost nature conservation by taking appropriate measures to preserve wildlife, protect nature and reverse the loss of species in the seat of government. The Permanent Secretary, State House Tijani Umar, gave the assurance while receiving in the presidential villa a delegation of rangers, popularly known as Royal Rangers, from the National Park Service. During the visit, Umar stressed the importance of protecting and preserving plants and animals in their indigenous habitat and expressed concern at the recent killing of wildlife species in the villa, which is home to some wildlife species, including tantalus monkeys, crocodiles, pythons, giant tortoises, bush rats, guinea fowls, bats, and diverse species of birds, as some locations within the villa have been delineated as conservationist areas. The Permanent Secretary therefore appeals to staff and visitors to the villa to preserve biodiversity and appreciate the natural world, adding that signages would be erected in specific areas for sensitization and compliance. The Permanent Secretary also uses the occasion to congratulate the Royal Rangers and their colleagues around the country on the occasion of this year's World Ranger Day, commemorated on July 31st. The National Population Commission is poised to conduct accurate, credible, and acceptable national population and housing census in 2023, which will be anchored largely on technology. The Federal Commissioner representing Cross River State, Navy Captain Charles Diam Ogwa, retired, stated this while appraising the outcome of the trial census in the state conducted from 13 to 31st July 2023. Paul Abel reports.
Data plays a significant role in national planning for economic development. And so the National Population Commission, after several years, is leaving nothing to chance, as it is at the verge of conducting a national population and housing census in 2023. But before then, it embarked on a dress rehearsal known as trial census nationwide in July over several communities and in 9 local government areas across the 3 senatorial districts in Cross River State. The exercise was described as successful with positive response. However, few challenges of network and resistance by few communities was also observed.
From all observations during my field assessment, it was a smooth exercise for the census operations.
Right from the training, everything went smoothly. We had 10 days of training. The recruitment method was okay, and that is part of what we also tested. It was a e-recruitment, electronic, online.
What are the assurances of a credible census?
Taking charge of this exercise, Census, 2023. The traditional institutions have done wonderfully well.
We are using a scientific method of taking the head count.
The administrators assert that although NPC assists INEC in the provision of data for delineation of registration areas and establishment of polling units, the 2023 general elections will be concluded before the census in April 2023. In Calabar, Paul Abel, NTA News.
Nigeria has won gold in the 4x100 meters women's relay event Sunday at the ongoing Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. The Nigerian quartet finished in a time of 42.10 seconds to set a new African record. The men got bronze in the 4x100 meters relay event.
This is good going by Nigeria. We're pretty safe on the changeovers. This is favored Philly of Nigeria. Second changeover. Australia on the outside and then they coming back from Nigeria. Flying round with Chapuna on the third leg. Comes back to the Nigerians. The Jamaican superstar comes through for bronze for the Jamaican side. Got 42.10 seconds, just outside the game's record, but that was brilliant from Nigeria. Absolutely superb. The quartet was fast. Toby Emerson was brought in, and she got the team off to an absolute flyer. Yes, indeed, Nigeria, you are the Commonwealth champions. England pick up the silver and Jamaica the bronze.
We've been saying all week how amazing performances from the Nigerian women have been both on the field and now in the sprint. And I was actually reading a quote by Faber Ophili, and she was talking about what the difference is. And she said the difference is we now believe in ourselves. We believe we can compete.
Similarly, on the same Sunday morning, the 100 meters hurdles women's world champion and record holder Toby Amusan in Birmingham defended her title at the Commonwealth Games, setting a new Games record of 12.30 seconds to add another gold medal to Nigeria's haul.
The defending champion, certified. Blocks for Amazon. She scored from the left-hand side. It's got away well. Amazon's under a little bit of pressure. Now to pull away the world champion without records. She's on the way to a successful second defense. Fingers on the podium at 17 champion of the Bahamas. Their first level, 12.09. Come at the other, come at the champion. It's a successful title defense. The Games record by a country mile. Amazon is on fire this season, and he has forgotten how to lose. Brilliant by the Nigerian, simply brilliant. The 12.29, it's been standing on the 12.3, a super fast. And a handful of women in history got a quicker than that. And the win, it was minus 8.2. It wasn't helpful. It would have been around +1, +2.
The Games will end on Monday, with Nigeria expected to register more medals on the board. Let's now join Hingino in Lagos for more updates.
Recently acquired landing ship tank of the Nigerian Navy, NNS Kada, has embarked on its first national assignment. The ship is on its way to Guinea-Bissau, still lifting military hardware and logistics for the Nigerian contingent on peacekeeping operation as part of ECOWAS stabilization support mission. Adeni Taiwo completes the report.
It is barely 10 weeks since NNS Kada was inducted into the Nigerian Naval Fleet, and now the man of war has been called to action. The bow of her cargo hold carries military hardware, logistics and tanks, all locked into place as she prepares to take to the sea. Her bow pointed towards the coast of Guinea-Bissau, where she will deliver outstanding logistics and store to the Nigerian contingent. As the flag flutters in the wind, the ship company, led by the commanding officer, Captain Reginald Aboki, gets final briefings. While stating that sea lifting of military hardware to support fighting troops is one of the mandates of the Nigerian Navy, Chief of the Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Awa Gambo, in a message, urged the ship company to be professional in their conduct, working to sustain Nigeria's proud record in peacekeeping mission built over the decades.
Hitherto, we will have moved this either by freight, international shipping, but we are showing that the Nigerian Navy, the Nigerian Armed Forces, has come of age to be able to conduct its operations as it is supposed to be.
For the flag officer commanding Western Naval Command, the voyage showcases the synergy within the armed forces. ECOWAS contingent was deployed to Guinea-Bissau under the auspices of the ECOWAS Stabilization Support Mission after the country's president, Umaru Sissoco Embalo, escaped a coup attempt in February 2022. Troops of Nigeria, Senegal, Ghana, and Ivory Coast make up the peacekeeping mission in the country with 1 year renewable mandate to stabilize Guinea-Bissau. In Lagos, Adini Itaiwo, NTA News.
Away from security now, Lagos State government is set to raise a sustainable bond in September through enhanced private sector partnership to increase the capacity to forecast and mitigate impact of climate change across the metropolis. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu disclosed this at this year's International Climate Change Summit in Lagos. Musa Toliat completes the report.
The recent flash flood which left casualties in its trail was an eye-opener for Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and stakeholders in climate change to take action and forestall reoccurrence of the ecological disaster in the state. Sanwo-Olu, who was represented by his deputy Obafemi Hamzat, called on residents to work with the government by upholding environment-friendly practices, especially in the areas of waste disposal.
Climate change is not a future problem. It is with us now, and it is affecting every community in every country and every continent. It cannot be overemphasized that we are witnessing the increasing interdependencies of systems. With each passing year, the risk of unabated climate change mounts, and we must deal with it.
Stakeholders in climate change say government and the private sector must see the urgency to launch a Lagos Green Funds to combat climate change and improve emergency response time.
The Climate Action Plan has opened a new frontier of funding opportunities for adaptation projects in the state.
I'm still optimistic and more determined than ever before, and the willingness that will deliver and make things better for Lagosians, not only on the short, but also on the medium and long term.
Climate change presents an opportunity to actually rethink our global and national economic system to make it more resilient, but also more just and equitable.
It is the 9th edition of the Lagos International Climate Change Summit, and it has the theme Integrating Climate Action in Lagos Development, Investment Opportunities and Trade-offs. In Lagos, Musa Toliat, NTA News.
Do not forget to follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on your screen for updates. Nationwide continues in Enugu after this break.
Good afternoon and welcome to Enugu Network Center. As one of the 6 participating states in the federal government World Bank assisted agricultural productivity enhancement and livelihood support appeals project, Gombe State reaped numerous benefits from the project, especially in the empowerment of women and youth. Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi confirmed this while inaugurating an integrated livestock and crop agricultural project in the state, a private sector initiative in support of state government agri-development agenda. Susan Eze has the details.
With about 1,700 women and youths having benefited from the appeals project, through trainings, disbursement of startup grants for agro-businesses, and mentorship. The project is also providing technical support to existing farmers. Governor Ogwani listed these and other gains of the project in the state.
The project is currently providing the following benefits to the good people of Gombe State. Support to technology adoption by assisting existing farmers with improved technology and farm inputs for enhanced production.
Stating that agriculture has been a major plank of his administration, the governor noted that 520 youths recently received trainings at the CSS farm in Kefi, Nasarawa State, in 2 batches on different sectors of the agric value chain. As he inaugurated the Mary Agro Farm in Udi, the governor expressed the confidence that with private sector initiatives like this one, the critical manpower for agric development would be created by engaging the youths in agriculture.
This project was divinely inspired for the upliftment of humanity and is targeted at the youth to empower them to be self-reliant and therefore reduce poverty and unemployment. More so, to change the mindsets of our youth generation towards big money and lazy attitudes.
The overall target is to attain the Sustainable Development Goals 1 and 2 of ending poverty and achieving zero hunger by the year 2030. In Enugu, Susan Eze, NTA News.
There is a growing concern for youth to be the first line change as leaders at all levels of governance through capacity building. That is what is on the lips of key players in Nigeria's political sector. Ifeanyi Okolie, who was at a one-day conference organized by a group advocating good governance in Umuahia, Abia State capital, reports.
Those canvassing the inclusion of young people in formal political processes believe that their active participation will activate increased democratic values that will spice up the 2023 general elections, just as they are championing all-inclusive governance to bring about a new Nigeria.
Every single area of the state, it requires development, infrastructure, human capital development. When it comes to education, of course, we hear news every other day of what is going on in the state. So people are clamoring for something different, something better.
Topmost in their worry is the underutilization of public funds by some states in the southeast, hence the advocacy for the
We seem to have lost the signal from Enugu. We apologize for that. Now, the federal government, alongside key players in the cotton, textile and garment industry, have stressed the need for more investment towards reviving all sectors for national development. This is coming after the Minister of State Budget and National Planning says government is providing a conducive environment for investors. Musa Aliu reports.
It is estimated that there are 110 million adults and more than 34 million students and pupils in Nigeria. Each required at least 5 yards annually for clothing or uniforms. Most of these clothing materials produced from cotton are imported, costing the country billions of dollars annually. However, key players in the cotton, garment and textile industries decry Nigeria's importation of what it was exporting years back.
The industries within the value chain still face challenges of low or lack of access to electricity, high cost of alternative power, high cost of inputs, bad roads, outdated machinery and equipment, just to mention a few, all of which leads to high cost of production. Consequently, investors no longer consider Nigeria's CPG sector worthy of investment.
Who was a textile factory worker in the early 1970s, said Nigeria has no business importing textile materials.
The country is not producing, and free market is not a solution. You know, the more role you give to the private sector, the more robust regulation you require, so that the social purpose of government, which doesn't coincide with the profit motive of private enterprise, can be reconciled.
Cotton farmers say with the little push from the Central Bank of Nigeria, the country is gradually making progress in meeting the country's demand of the commodity. And this is why the Minister of State, Budget and National Planning listed some of the key areas government is intervening towards reviving the sector.
The Nigerian cotton, textile and garment sector holds huge potentials to transforming Nigeria's economy and reviving the textile and garment industries by creating over 2 million jobs, improve internal revenue across the 3 tiers of government, and reduce billions of dollars on importation costs incurred annually on textile and apparel. This will reduce the pressure on foreign exchange and ultimately accelerate industrial development by making Nigeria a global player in the textile and apparel sectors.
The forum was organized by cotton farmers under the auspices of the Achimogu Foundation. Musa Aliyu, NTA News.
In another development, journalists attending the 2022 Press Week of the Nigeria Union of Journalists, Niger State Council, have vowed to protect and promote the ethics of journalism by embracing fact-checking to end fake news, Mukhtar reports.
There's no gainsaying fake news is doing a lot of damage and havoc to the nation, especially in challenging the security architecture of the country. This informed the theme of this year's Press Week convened by the NUJ Niger State Council, Fact Check to End Fake News, talks before Niger State journalists amid security challenges. NUJ National President Chris Isugozo and the Chairman Niger State Council Abu Umodu say NUJ will not allow fake news to overshadow journalists' patriotic role, especially now that the nation is faced with security challenges.
We must apply this golden rule and also look at ourselves, the way we evolve professionally and abide by the ethics of the profession. We have disciplined a good number of media practitioners who were caught in the way of spreading fake news.
Dignitaries, including the Minister of State Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Berudada, unanimously agree that the theme is apt.
It is no longer new that there is a lot of power in the pen. It is there for us as journalists to use it towards positive ends or towards destructive ends. Fake news are harmful, provided unnecessary perception about what it is, about
Climax of the event was the presentation of award in the magazine and calendar of the NUJ Niger State Council. In Mina, Mukhtar Wowo, NTA News.
Benue State Governor Samuel Ortom says the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TET Fund, is one of the programs of the federal government which has continued to deliver on its mandate. This was when the Executive Secretary of TET Fund, Mr. Sonny Echono, visited him at the Government House in Makudi. Charles Abba reports.
Executive Secretary of Tertiary Education Trust Fund, Architect Sonny Echono, was accompanied by the Vice Chancellor of the Benue State University, Professor Toyurapo, and other management staff of the institution. Governor Samuel Ortom, who commended the TET Fund boss for his integrity and impeccable performance while he was Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Education, said he has no doubt that he would replicate same as he pioneers the affairs of TET Fund. He noted that the Tertiary Education Trust Fund has continued to impact positively on the education sector.
Because the footprints are there. Go to all the universities and the other tertiary institutions, polytechnics, colleges of education, whether state or federal, you can literally see the footprints of what TET Fund have been able to impact.
Sonny Echono, who acknowledged the efforts of Governor Samuel Ortom in providing security in the state, commended the state government for the establishment of the Benue State University, which he said is a frontliner among state universities in the northern part of Nigeria. The third front boss was decorated with the Benue State Unity attire by Governor Samuel Ortom. In Makudi, Charles Abba, NTA News.
Indeed, those of us who graduated from Benue State University always say there are only two universities, Bensu and others. Now, Nasarawa State has been selected among 8 other states in the country to pilot the federal government bilingual education program, which is expected to address the issue of out-of-school children. Aliu Tijani reports.
The federal government bilingual education project has been cited in Lafia, Nasarawa and Wamba, representing the 3 senatorial zones of the state. Islamic Development Bank is supporting the initiative, which is also aimed at fine-tuning the Almajiri system of education. Nasarawa State government hands over 3 schools in the benefiting areas for the takeoff of the project. The bilingual education program is expected to be replicated in 8 states of the federation.
And I want to announce to you, Excellency, that work has commenced. Work has commenced, and with the support we are receiving, I believe all things being equal, everything will move smoothly and seamlessly.
So, essentially, thank you, and I'm happy that you are very comfortable in Nasarawa State. I'm happy that no state is actually completely safe, that we are doing everything possible to keep our people safe.
In the meantime, the family of late Are Igong, Dr. Bala Angbazo, pays a thank you visit to Governor Abdullahi Sule over the state government support during their moment of grief when the monarch passed on in Lafia. Aliu Tijani, NTA News.
Let's now join our Jos Network Center for more on Nationwide. So we seem to be having signal issues there. It seems today is World Signal Issues Day at the NTA. So let's just continue. The dream of owning homes by many Nigerians has been fulfilled through the ongoing provision of massive housing, which is a presidential mandate expected to deliver more than 5,000 homes across the country. Abdullahi Mohammed reports.
What a turning point for Musa, a civil servant who began his working career in Abuja as a squatter.
I was squatting with one of my uncles.
Now, a proud owner of a bedroom apartment.
But I want to be like you.
That sharing moment explained in clear terms the translation of the objectives of the National Housing Program, and from top to bottom, it's delivered in a class of its own. More than 700 units of flats here, just a stone throw from the Zuba interchange, and it consists of flats that fits the pockets of every strata of Nigerians.
If you visit our Zuba project, you will see that it is a total package as far as, putting down an housing project is concerned. And the reason is not far-fetched. The government of President Muhammadu Buhari not only promised mass affordable housing, for Nigerian mass people, it also promised that they won't go the way of the past.
See, around the neighborhood, you will see that Baby Saloon has come up. You can see that the cost of the land has gone up. You can see that people are even building around our estates. And that is what the program is all about, apart from housing deficit that we're trying to bridge.
The National Housing Program is also designed to share the dividends of its development with host communities.
You employed indigenous people that are there in the locality, and through that a lot of job was created.
The construction of about 6 federal secretariats is also ongoing, with 4 on the verge of completion. This means that Yusuf and millions of other civil servants would not only smile to their new homes, but brand new office complexes that closes the gaps between federal offices in states across the country. In Abuja, Abdullahi Muhammad, NTA News.
It's time for a break. Nationwide will continue with more reports on the housing scheme. Stay tuned. Thanks for staying tuned to NTA Nationwide. The Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Raji Fashola, says acquiring the federal government housing scheme is done through a transparent process. He stated this on NTA's program Weekend File.
Well, there are two levels. Everything that we set out to do, we monitor. So if you are familiar with our ministry, we're in one meeting or the other. We're monitoring programs, we're monitoring policies, we're testing impact, and we're testing compliance. So when we launched the portal, National Housing Portal on the website for the allocation of these houses, we were upfront to tell people that we expect that there will be challenges, but as the challenges exist, please let us know, and as we get the feedback, we correct. So we have periodic meetings about feedback, challenges, and so on and so forth. But things have moved on quite rapidly, and you see some of the beneficiaries now are taking up their allocations. We are ready to allocate more, but people must go through that process for transparency. We were accused at some point that, nobody could benefit. It's heartwarming to see that those who have complied with the process have benefited, and so we'll continue to respond to those. You will also see that we're building through our parastatals, Federal Housing Authority.
Of course, yes.
Federal Mortgage Bank is also providing housing mortgage. So if you are a contributor to the National Housing Fund, you can reasonably expect, if you meet their conditions, that you can get allocation for a house. The Federal Mortgage Bank is coming to the market very soon with almost 7,000 housing units across Nigeria at different stages of completion. The Federal Housing Authority will also put some of his houses, including Zuba, on the market. So if people meet the conditions for eligibility, certainly they should expect that they will get their allocations, as we have seen demonstrated in Nigerians who have benefited. But I think that we must also understand that housing must be seen beyond the concept of ownership. We must recognize the millions of people who also have to deal with rental first before they can deal with ownership.
Still on housing, the development has been identified as critical to achieving federal government's renewal, job creation, and overall national development. This was part of issues raised at the 11th meeting of the National Council on Lands, Housing and Urban Development held recently in Sokoto. Alhatu Abdullahi reports.
The purpose of the 11th meeting of the National Council on Lands, Housing and Urban Development, recently held in Sokoto, was to assemble relevant stakeholders in the housing sector to deliberate and adopt policy measures toward addressing the critical challenges of the sector. During the technical session, 74 memoranda being submitted by stakeholders were extensively deliberated on.
Federal government alone cannot address the gap in housing development across the country. State governments and the private sectors are critical stakeholders. We have to collaborate effectively towards addressing the housing challenges by bringing to the forefront desirable strategies to increase the stock of affordable houses in the country.
The governor of the hosting state, Aminu Waziri Tambol, urged the council to carefully examine presentations by experts to reach viable and effective decisions.
I therefore appeal to this council to come up with whatever policy that will be implementable with ease so that states and other stakeholders can access funding for housing schemes.
Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Raji Fashola, urged delegates at the council meeting to synergize in ensuring that affordable houses are provided for Nigerians.
Housing provision is a collaborative effort by all levels of government and by the private sector.
The council adopted 7 sub-themes to guide its deliberations, which led to further deliberations on the 42 key recommendations contained in the technical report. In Sokoto, Dalhatu Abdullahi, NTA News.
It's time to join Kemi in our Ibadan Network Center.
Thank you, Najatu, and a warm welcome to Ibadan. Though Gombe State recorded its first case of monkeypox on 23rd June 2022, the state now has a total number of 6 confirmed cases of the disease. Olajide Bello points out the efforts put in place to avert communal spread of the viral infectious disease.
The monkeypox outbreak has been declared a global health emergency by the World Health Organization due to worldwide upsurge of confirmed cases. Gombe State has just recorded 5 additional cases, with 3 from Edo and 1 each from Baritin and Ilorin West local government areas. 2 of the 5 patients, according to the State Commissioner for Health, Raji Razak, have been treated and discharged as he allays the fear of mortality from monkeypox.
There's no definitive treatment for monkeypox. We do supportive treatment. If a patient comes down with fever, we manage fever.
The state, he added, has not let down its guard in disease surveillance, response and control since the time of COVID-19 outbreak, and his ministry is working to avert communal spread of monkeypox.
Local government DSO knows we have trained them on sample collection. We have our team on ground everywhere. At every local government that will take sample, and we assemble our sample and we'll send our sample to Abuja at our reference center, and then we'll be waiting for the result. When the result comes out positive, then we'll take note and we'll put our eyes on the contact.
Members of the public are thereby encouraged to embrace personal hygiene and timely reports of suspected cases to the nearest hospital for prompt attention. Olajide Bello, NTA News.
And away from health, Nigerian army officers and soldiers' wives have been urged to help their husbands win the fight against insurgency by maintaining peace and harmony at the home front. Wife of the Chief of Army Staff, Hajia Salamatu Yahaya, said these at the Sappers Barracks, Ilese Ijebu, Ogun State. Correspondent Mayowa Ereton has details.
That was the wife of the Chief of Army Staff commissioning on of the edifice at the Sappers Barrack in Ilese, Ijebu. She also commissioned the newly constructed Secretariat of the Nigerian Army Officers' Wife Association, which has a fountain. The school and barrack magazine called Sappers Emerald Magazine, which has information about the school and barrack, was also launched by the national president. Mrs. Salamatu Yaya called on the members of the association that they should contribute their own quota to winning the fight against terrorists.
Sacred responsibility of taking care of the home front. It is our responsibility to keep the home front peaceful and stable, so that we give them needed moral support as well as psychological support that our spouses need, so that they confront the myriad of security challenges.
There were colorful calls to display by the students of the school. She did not forget the widows who lost their husband in the many theater of wars across the country, as she presented the cash prize and foodstuff after giving a word of encouragement. In Ijebu-Ode, Mayowa Ereton, NTA News.
And that's it from Ibadan. Nationwide continues with Najatu in Abuja. Thank you.
Thank you, Kemi. Gombe State Governor Muhammadu Inuwa is seeking more collaboration with the military to sustain the prevailing peace in Gombe. The governor made the appeal during a visit to the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, in Abuja.
Considering the situation of the country with its various challenges,
And even upon that, they are able to help us maintain the peace, especially in Gombe State and in Varos. That's why I came to thank the Chief of Army Staff and to seek for more support of how we could boost security and manage the affairs of the people of Gombe and indeed the entire people of this country.
Governor Inua had a similar meeting with the Chief of the Defense Staff General Lucky Irabo and also commended the Nigerian Army and its sister agencies for the role and relentless efforts in containing the current insecurity across the nation. The Nigerian Ports Authority is taking steps to address bottlenecks militating against efficiency and traffic reduction in eastern ports in Nigeria. Kingsley Amajiri reports.
The Managing Director of Nigeria Ports Authority, Mohammed Koko's visit to Port Harcourt and Onne ports is in furtherance of efforts by the management of NPA towards addressing bottlenecks and in turn stimulate more import and export activities through the eastern ports. He met with stakeholders in the sector where key issues bordering on ease of business transaction, security, and driving traffic to eastern ports were addressed.
If you use 5 hours to do clearance, they don't have to be affected. People can have at least up to 3 hours. It will assist in reducing the waiting time of vessels.
So we are taking actions to ensure that some ports are well supported to encourage volume of business coming into the ports.
Key target of this government action is also towards decongesting the Lagos ports.
But of course, most of the ports in the east, the problem is the draft of the channel, and that's what we are looking at. So it's not just to reconstruct the quays. We also need to, dredge deeper so that bigger vessels will come in, and then the economies of scale will set in, and then you'll be able to bring in those containers cheaper. We are beginning to see increased activity in Onne, and we're happy to see what is going on in Onne.
The visit enabled the managing director and his entourage to assess terminal operators' facilities and inaugurate projects. In Port Harcourt, Kingsley Amajiri, NTA News.
Let's now join our sports desk. Thank you, Cynthia. Sports Update concludes nationwide. Thanks for watching. Remember to continue supporting NTA's campaign against rape and rapists. I'm Najaa Atutijani.